throughout the park. Now we have entered into our third reserve, which is called Timbavati Lion Country, and in this reserve you will be introduced to our pride of rare white lions.
Wow, that's it. Wow. Yes, that's on the right side.
So over on your right hand side, we do have our white lions. The white lions are a pale cream color, which is known as blonde. They are not albino. Their color is due to a color inhibitor, and this is because of a genetic condition called leucism. So what happens is that there's less pigment along their hair shaft, which will produce a paler coat in the lions. Just like the lions we saw in the last reserve, these guys can either have hazel or golden eyes. They can also have blue, blue-green, or gray-colored eyes as well. Now, when the white lions are first born, their fur is completely white, and it's said that they actually look like polar bear cubs. When any lion cub is born, they are blind at birth. They will open their eyes within 11 days. They can walk within 15 days and run by the time they are 1 month old. According to the White Lion Protection Trust, it states that there's only about 300 white lions left worldwide. This is mostly in zoos where they are deliberately bred for their color. According to African folklore of over 400 years ago, the white lions were sent to Earth as a gift from the sun, and they were sent to an area of Africa which was known as the Timbavati. Now the lions will start to roar at about 1 year of age. The females will start shortly thereafter that, and their roar can be heard from about 8 kilometers away, which can be heard throughout the park before opening. Now, the lions have captured human imagination since the earliest of times, and they are often called the king of beasts. During the last ice age, they did develop much farther north than Africa, and they could be seen throughout Europe. You should be able to get a glimpse of our dominant male for this pride. His name is Feta, and his mane and tail tuft remain a paler shade than the rest of his body. He's not in the best spot right now, but you can kind of see him. On your right hand side, this is our white lion compound. This is where the white lions are housed at night, so usually around 5 o'clock they know that it's time to head for home, and the game wardens will herd them closer in their trucks and then close the gate with a draw rope-like attachment.
That's because he was out.
Moving along is known as no man's land, as there are no animals in this section. It acts as a natural barrier between all of our meat and plant-eating animals. Visitors to the park who do not want to drive their own vehicle through, as you do enter at your own risk. The baboons have been known to do a little bit of unwanted maintenance and repairs to vehicles, as well as take a few souvenirs and leave a few of their own. There are some white cows that are in the forest. Those are the miniature zebu. They are the oldest and smallest breed of cattle in the world. They are also the only true miniature breed of cattle to exist, meaning that they were not bred down from anything larger. To be considered miniature, they must not exceed a height of 42 inches or a weight of 500 pounds. They are very hardy and disease resistant, which makes them relatively easy to raise. And on some of the hottest days of the year, they can be seen lying out in the full sun. Also on your left-hand side, you should be able to see a reddish-brown antelope. This is a bongo. They are the largest type of forest antelope. They have about 10 to 15 white stripes on either side of their body. It is also very rare that they will ever have the same number of stripes on each side. They are nocturnal and also extremely skittish, so they will often retreat to the trees for security during the day. This reserve, let's keep a sharp eye out for the baboons.
The monkeys there.
So over on your left-hand side, you should be able to see our savanna baboons. The average adult male baboon will weigh up to 88 pounds, and they can live for about 20 years in the wild. Amongst the baboon troop, there is a definite order of dominance. The females inherit their rankings from their moms, and the male's ranking is open to challenge. If a lower ranking member attempts to take food before a higher ranking member, they will be punished by tail biting accompanied by screeching. This makes older baboons very respectful and even a little bit fearful of their leader. Ground, they will travel about 3 to 6 kilometers in this manner each day. However, it is very rare that they will ever sleep on the ground, and this is because they do not want to fall prey to one of their deadliest enemies, which is the leopard. However, since man has hunted the leopard, there has been an increase in the baboon population in the wild.
Hey Miles, is that one King of the Castle? I think that one's King of the Castle.
The baboons are primarily vegetarians. They will eat fallen fruit, succulent roots, and small prey such as birds and mice. We do caution our visitors not to open their windows and feed the baboons because as playful and friendly as they may seem, they do have very sharp teeth and they are not afraid to use them. So feeding the baboons is best left to our professional staff. So if you look at the baboon that's crossing the road, there is a baby holding on underneath. When a mom has a baby, the baby only weighs about half a pound, and they have bright red faces and ears and black fur. The babies will stay in very close contact with their moms for the first year of their life. So for the first few months, they will hold on to their mother's underside, and the mom will hold on with one hand. And then after this time, they will slowly start to ride on their mother's backs like a horse. After about 4 to 6 months, they will slowly start to venture away from their moms and start to play with other young baboons. It is also interesting to know that sometimes the dominant male will ask permission to play with the baby, and he does so by smacking his lips to the mom, and this is a sign that he means no harm.
Look at that one.
Just is looking.
Yeah, interested finally.
Monkey. Tell him it's monkey. Tell him it's monkey. Monkey.
The baboons are very social animals, and with that, they do have a number of vocalizations. Some of their vocalizations include grunts, barks, and screams, and some non-vocal forms include lip smacking, shoulder shrugging, and nose-to-nose contact. Now you may notice some of the baboons picking at one another. They are trying to remove all of the dirt, fleas, and ticks that might be on the other baboon, but this is also a very important form of social bonding. The baboons also have cheek pouches, just like chipmunks do. So they are able to store food for later consumption or while they're on the go. And then there are also 3 smaller ones. Those were the babies that were born last year. You'll notice that there's always a game warden stationed here, and their job is to check underneath the bus, on top and on either side, to make sure that there are no baboons trying to hitch a ride out into our next reserve, which is the Rocky Ridge Veldt. So we got our thumbs up, which means we are good to go.
I will not stay out here.
So coming up on your right-hand side, these are the addax. The addax are also known as the screwhorn antelope, and this is because the shape of their horns resembles a screw. They can live on very little to no water as they receive enough moisture from the vegetation they eat every day.
I see. I went over there. Exactly. We already saw 2 sets of coins. We saw the yellow one. We saw the white one.
Coming up on your right-hand side, we have our ostrich. The ostrich are the largest living flightless bird in the world. And even though they cannot fly, they do have very powerful legs. And this allows them to run at about 70 kilometers an hour, which they can maintain for about half an hour.
That's impressive.
You can also tell the difference between a male and a female because the male's feathers are black with white tips at the end, whereas the females have dull brownish gray feathers. So the one that's on your left is the male and the one that's on the right is a female. Contrary to popular belief, the ostriches do not bury their heads in the sand. However, if they are frightened or trying to hide, they will lie down on the ground with their long necks stretched out.
Let me just see if I can just make myself one with
Coming up on your right-hand side, we do have our scimitar horned oryx. They are, they got their name from the curious shape of their horns, which resembles an Asian blade with a curved edge, which is called a scimitar. They unfortunately were extinct in the wild from 1990 until 2017, when a small group of them was released into Tunisia and Chad, where they are now doing very well. So coming up on your right-hand side, we do have 3 of our white rhinos. The white rhinos are not actually white, but they are a slate gray color. And they get their name from the Afrikaans word wide, which means wide or square-lipped. They are essentially a grazing animal, and they can take about 70 to 80 bites per minute, chew, then swallow. They have 2 horns, one directly behind the other, and their horns are made up of pure keratin, which is the same thing that makes up our fingernails and hair. The rhinos have very little hair on their body, aside from their eyelashes, ear fringe, and tail bush.
Did you see the rhinos?
The rhinos are about 6 feet tall at the shoulders, and they can weigh up to 5,500 pounds. If you look in the middle of their backs, they do have a bump, and this bump is an inverted vertebrae, and because of this, they are unable to completely roll over. So when they're having their mud baths, they will take care of one side of their bodies at a time.
Seems to be enjoying himself. He's looking.
Also on your right hand side, the gray animals are the white-bearded wildebeest. There's about 1.5 million of them in the Serengeti, and because of this, the Serengeti wildebeest migration is the second largest in the world, next only to the Mongolian gazelle.
You want to go to Neil and Eric?
These guys will migrate in a clockwise rotation, and they have a nose flap that goes over their noses, and this prevents the dust from getting in as they are moving around.
Zebra. Giraffe.
There is another Addicts over on your left-hand side, just by the bus.
Ostrich.
You don't video that one.
Cool, man.
There is another ostrich over here on your left, and
Wow, this is beautiful.
when an ostrich lays an egg, it will be incubated for about 40 days by both mom and dad. And an ostrich egg weighs about 3 pounds, which is the equivalent of about 30 chicken eggs.
Wow.
Tell me what you see.
And zebra is there too.
What do you see?
Just finding the time to go.
Yeah. If you had to try something.
Yeah.
Also on your right hand side, we do have our Barbary sheep. They are the mountain goat-like animals. Unfortunately, they are still being pursued by native hunters, and so they were successfully relocated into the canyons of the Colorado River, as well as into parts of California, where they are now doing very well. The 3 white rhinos that are on your right side, we got them in August of 1998.
See the other one.
Kruger National Park in South Africa. The one that is by himself, his name's Matt. And then the other 2, their names are Fire and Star. There's Puerto Rico giraffes. Each giraffe has their own unique set of spots, just like we have our own unique set of fingerprints.
This is your head. You need to pull on Komoto.
So that one there that's walking away, her name is Safari. She was born on December 31st, 2013. And she was North America's first artificially inseminated giraffe to be born in North America, and only the second one in the entire world.
zebra.
Giraffes. Hi, giraffes.
Good camera.
Wow, it's so long.
Over on your left-hand side, there is a little baby giraffe by the feeder. His name is Jagger. He was born last year on May 24th. When the babies are first born, they're only about 6 to 7 feet tall. However, they can reach heights of about 19.5 feet tall when fully grown. A mother giraffe will be pregnant for about 14 to 16 months before she gives birth to her baby standing up. And the baby's first encounter into the world is a 6-foot drop out of the mother's womb. The giraffes only have 7 vertebrae in their neck, and that is the same number as a mouse. They also have a very large and powerful heart, which they use to pump the blood all the way up their long necks and into their brains. The 2 bumps that are on top of their heads, those are not horns, they are simply just part of their skull. They do have a very long and powerful tongue, which they use to pump the which they use to clean both their noses and their ears. Their tongue is about 18 to 20 inches, and it's also a bluish gray color, and this helps their tongue not to become sunburnt as they are grabbing at leaves and branches high up in the trees. Over on your right-hand side, we have our zebras. The zebras are considered to be the wild horse of Africa, as they are nearly impossible to train. They possess neither the horse's gentleness nor their endurance, which makes the horse a friend of man. They have black and white stripes that encircle their legs and shoulders, and it's said that the black stripes are there to absorb the heat of the sun, whereas the white stripes are there to reflect the heat of the sun, and this helps them to regulate their body temperature. They also have a very good sense of sight and smell, so they will often act as an alarm system for the Serengeti. If they sense that there's any danger coming, they will start to run, and this alerts the other animals that they should be doing the same.
Do you think humanity helps with the camouflage though? I don't know quite how that works.
Over on your left-hand side, this is our recreation lake. This is where we bring our this is our largest watering hole on safari. It is home to many birds which are native to southern Ontario, but it's also where many of the animals in this reserve like to come to get a drink of water on a hot summer's day, and where the rhinos especially like to have their mud baths. Our right-hand side, we have our red and western gray kangaroos. The male kangaroos are called Jacks, the females are called Jills, and the babies are called Joeys. A mother will produce a single underdeveloped offspring, which is the Joey. And when the Joey is first born, they are only about the size of a lima bean. The mom will lick a path up and into her pouch, where the Joey will live for the next 9 months.
I'm having fun.
A Joey is not considered to be born until it can be seen.
Yeah. Oh, I see a donkey too.
Coming up next, we have our donkeys. The donkeys were first domesticated by the Egyptians around 300 BC. They are more sure-footed than the horse, so they were often used as pack animals over the horse for long trips through the mountains.
Okay.
Over on your left-hand side, we also have our Père David deer. They really enjoy being in the water, and they have webbing between their toes, which helps them while they are spending much of their time in the water.
I know, but the Empire State Building.
But it should say here this area too. You'll see that.
So coming up on your right-hand side, we do have our greater one-horned rhino. His name is Naboo. He only has one horn like his name suggests, and it's present on both males and females, and it is made up of pure black keratin. Now, despite his large size, he can run at speeds of up to 55 kilometers an hour, and he's also a very good swimmer.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
I know their type of ox which are native to Tibet, and their shaggy black coats will protect them in temperatures of about minus 40 degrees Celsius. If they ever feel like they are in danger, they will form a protective circle around their young ones with their horns facing outward. Coming up next, we have, and considered to be a national treasure just like the giant panda. They have the body of a bison, the horns of a wildebeest, the nose of a moose, and the tail of a bear. They are very interesting creatures, and there are fewer than 50 of them in North America. And final reserve, which is called the Americas. Markhor are a type of mountain goat from the Himalayan areas of Asia. You can tell the difference between a male and a female because the male's horns are much more flat and spiraling than the females. The males also have a beard, whereas the females do not. You can get another good look at our spotted fallow deer over on your left. Now, the babies will start to be born in June, and it's actually very rare for there to be any babies in the wild, as it is harder for them to find a mate. However, in protected areas like Safari, this is not the case, which is why our herd is so large. Unfortunately, your tour of the game reserves is coming to an end, but your fun here at Safari does not need to. We have our 2 complimentary nature tours, which are the Nature Boy Scenic Railway, as well as the African Queen Boat Cruise. We also have our 3 bird and mammal performances, which are the Birds of Prey Flying Demonstration, Paradise Show, and the Elephant and Friends performances. You should also be able to see the elephants walk back from their swim, which will just be near Jungle Junction, kind of where you came into the park. If you have any questions about the tour or Safari in general, I would be happy to try and answer them for you to the best of my ability. I'd like to thank you for coming to Safari today, and I hope that you have a wild day with us.
Oh, yeah, no.